Welcome to Rice TVX. On today's Rice Report, we're going to be talking about the United States government redefining words like recession and what the inverted yield curve has shouted 3 times this year. Now, before we begin the show, a few quick messages from the sponsors of Rice TVX.
Start trading crypto today. Sign up for our step-by-step video series to get set up with the best trading tools, start analyzing charts, enter and exit a trade properly, and most importantly, see if crypto trading is right for you. Join us at bitlabacademy.com.
And you can always find information for the sponsors of Rice TVX, BitLab Academy, Presearch, and Monarch in every video description. Please give me a 5x5 and let me know that you can hear me loud and clear. And be sure to smash that like button as it helps other people to be able to find videos like these and my channel as well, and it would be greatly appreciated. Now, before we begin, I'm also giving time for everybody to get involved in today's live stream. If you're watching this on replay, I would say fast forward to about the 3.5-minute mark. If you want to support the channel, there are 2 partnerships that I have going on, things that you can do to prepare. Be prepared, not scared. And I will tell you right now, if you take advantage of these partnerships, it is a way that you can support Rice TVX and look out for yourself. So the first one that most of you might already know is my partnership with Money Metals Exchange. If you haven't taken advantage of this, with the price of silver being manipulated and held down right now, you can still get that free ½ ounce of silver. You got to be a first-time buyer at moneymetals.com. And at checkout, make sure you're using the promo code RICE. You get a free ½ ounce of silver, and it's a way to support the channel. Get your free ½ ounce of silver. Take full advantage of my partnership with Money Metals Exchange in 5 easy steps. 1, visit moneymetals.com. 2, be a first-time buyer. 3, purchase a minimum of $100. 4, use the promo code RICE. 5, get a free ½ ounce of silver, and it's an additional way to support the channel. All right, I have not gotten a 5x5, so what I'm going to do here in just a moment is unmute my television. Yeah, I can hear myself, so I got a 5x5 by myself. So thank you, Rice, for giving me that 5x5. Now, the other partnership that I have going on, some of you may be familiar with, is my partnership with My Patriot Supply. So if you look at what the news had put out, mainstream news, and I know what everybody's going to say about the mainstream news, but the narrative being put out around May 20th, May 21st was that we had a 10-week wheat supply, global wheat supply. And they're blaming a lot of this on the Russia-Ukraine conflict, in addition to other things that are going on globally, weather, destroying crops, whatever the situation might be, talking about a coming food shortage. As much as it's being said, I really feel like this is going to be a reality. So you can take advantage of my partnership with My Patriot Supply by visiting prepwithrice.com. You could save $50 on a 1-month supply of non-perishable food, or $150 on a 3-month supply. And here's how you can do that. I've partnered up with My Patriot Supply so that you can prepare for these uncertain times. Visit www.prepwithrice.com. I highly recommend My Patriot Supply, America's largest emergency preparedness company. Act quickly and you'll save $150 off their essential 3-month emergency food kit, which contains an abundance of delicious foods that provides more than 2,000 calories a day. This includes free shipping quickly and in unmarked boxes to your doorstep. Visit www.prepwithrice.com as an additional way to support the channel. All right. I appreciate everybody for tuning in for today's live stream. Something I do want to ask everyone is I set this live stream up last night, probably around 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. I did some promoting for it, And so what I'm curious of, if you've hit the notification bell on my YouTube channel, were you notified of me uploading a live stream for today? And were you notified of me going live? If you do have the notification bells turned on and you're not getting those notifications, what I suggest, unsubscribe from my channel, resubscribe, and turn the notification bell on again, and just pay attention. I am going to be start gearing back up, putting more content out. I do appreciate everybody for bearing with me while I've been putting out 3 to 4 videos a week. It's helped me a lot dealing with my move, my personal life, and other situations that I'm dealing with on the back end. So I greatly appreciate that. And thank you again for tuning in for today's live stream. And before I get into it, I want to let everybody know. Well, let me go ahead and really quick shout out. Manal, thanks for joining. We are the Eagles. Gulag G, appreciate you tuning in, my friend. Bearish Bull, I love the name. Thank you for letting me know that you were notified. And Forrest Jackson, I appreciate. All is well. I hope you're doing well as well. All right, so what we got going on in about 22 minutes is the next Federal Reserve FOMC meeting, where they're going to be talking about what they're going to be doing with the rate hikes. The market is kind of already priced in a 75-point basis rate hike. So if we see a 100-point basis rate hike, we could see some downward action in cryptocurrency and the traditional stock markets and commodities. If we go to a 50 basis points and everything's priced in at 75, we could see everything start to reverse and take off. I'm not saying go completely bullish, but we could see some upside versus downside. So if we go below what the projection is of 75 basis points, we should go up. And if we go above that, then we should go down. And that's taking place at 2:30 p.m. Eastern time. If you want to follow, and I'm trying to do a screen share while I'm talking to everybody. Not that I suggest following the Federal Reserve on Twitter, but you can go to the Federal Reserve on Twitter, and they have links where you can watch the press conference with Chair Powell at 2:30 p.m. Eastern time on their YouTube channel, on the Federal Reserve YouTube channel. And I definitely hope that you're not subscribed to that. So today's video is actually a really interesting video, because in 2 days from now, well, no, excuse me, not 2 days from now, tomorrow, on Thursday, the GDP report will be coming out for the United States. Now, GDP is your gross domestic product. And what that tells us is whether or not the country, or how much the country has grown or lack thereof. The last quarter, we were in a downtrend. We didn't have growth. So by definition, and this has existed for quite some time, by definition, and this is per Investopedia, and everything that I'm talking about is going to be linked in the video description. What is a recession? A recession is a significant, widespread, and prolonged downturn in economic activity. Because recessions often last 6 months or more, one popular rule of thumb is that 2 consecutive quarters of decline in a country's GDP constitutes a recession. Now, where we are headed currently seems to be something that would be worse than a recession, which would be a depression. But I'm just going to focus on recession because of what the United States government is coming out now and saying. Now, in case you are unfamiliar, the White House has put out, and I thought I had 2 White House articles here, and I do. Okay, the other thing I wanted to share was, and I'm not a big fan of Wikipedia, but Wikipedia says in economics, a recession is a business cycle contraction when there is a general decline in economic activity. Recessions generally occur when there is a widespread drop in spending. This may be triggered by various events such as financial crisis, an external trade shock, an adverse supply shock, the bursting of an economic bubble, or the large-scale anthropogenic, that's a crazy word, or natural disaster, i.e., e.g., a pandemic. While national definitions may vary, most commentators and analysts use as a practical definition of recession 2 consecutive quarters of decline in a country's real inflation-adjusted gross domestic product, GDP. And it's funny that they add, while national definitions may vary, but in reality, in our real world, the world that we experience every day, the world that we wake up and live in, the definition of a recession is 2 consecutive quarters of decline in GDP. You're getting this from Wikipedia and you're getting this from Investopedia. And you can look in any dictionary and you're going to be getting about the same thing. Sometimes it might say few few months, but few months would signify 3 to 4. And if we're talking about 2 quarters is up to 6 months. A quarter lasts 3 months. So we're going to be getting the information regarding the GDP growth or non-growth, and that's going to be coming out tomorrow. So that's why the government, White House specifically, and Janet Yellen, the Treasury Secretary, have come out and tried to redefine the word recession so that when this report comes out tomorrow on the 28th of July, it'll look better. So I already believe that we're in a recession, and I feel like it's going to go into a depressionary situation. But that is another conversation for another day. So we've shared the definitions. Now, the White House says, how do economists determine whether the economy is in a recession? And this happens to be coming out on July the 21st, 2022. Today is Wednesday. So this came out last Thursday, a week before the GDP numbers are coming out. What is a recession? While some maintain that 2 consecutive quarters of failing real GDP constitute a recession, that is neither the official definition nor the way economists evaluate the state of a business cycle. Instead, both official determinations of recessions and economists' assessments of economic activity are based on a holistic look at the data, including the labor market, consumer and business spending, and industrial production and incomes. Based on these data, it is unlikely that the decline in GDP in the first quarter of this year, even if followed by another GDP decline in the second quarter, indicates a recession. So it's ironic that now the government is coming out as some sort of valid source of being able to change definitions of words when it just is conveniently downplaying the fact that we're in a recession. And a lot of this has to do with midterm elections and the upcoming presidential race in 2024. So Democrats are trying to show face. Biden has come out many times and said that we are not going to see a recession. Now, another thing is this comes from the White House, but lots of other news sources had reported on this, but I figured I would just go straight to the source, which is the White House, who put this information out for the mainstream news to report to you, the sheep. Or us, the sheep. I shouldn't call you a sheep because technically they look at all of us as sheep. So that's what I mean. Treasury Secretary Yellen says U.S. economy is not in a recession. Well, if you want to go by definition on that date, yes, because we have to go through, get the GDP numbers for this past quarter, and then that will technically signify whether or not we are or are not in a recession per the definition that we all have generally used that has been the indicator. But now the government, the White House, Janet Yellen want to come out and change this information. Okay, so I'm going to read further here. Appearing on NBC's Meet the Press with Chuck Todd, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen explained the state of the economy, including its historic strengths, efforts to bring down inflation, and how to interpret the initial readings of the second quarter GDP being announced this week. As she explains, the technical and actual definition of recession takes into account a broad range of data and states that this is not an economy that's in recession. And if the technical definition is 2 quarters of contraction, you're saying that's not a recession. Janet Yellen is saying that's not a technical definition. But as I just read, it is the technical definition, but yet Janet Yellen seems to think that it's not. And the White House is in agreement. So the numbers come out tomorrow. Now, the interesting thing about this is, so we have the FOMC meeting today at 2:30 in 13 minutes. It's going to be starting. I'm not going to watch it live. I'll find out the results. But again, this is where the Federal Reserve is raising interest rates. And the reason the Federal Reserve is raising interest rates is to combat all the inflation from all the money printing and all the quantitative easing they did. They're trying to fix the problem they created. And ultimately, that's what the general average Joe and Karen are basically believing the government, believing that the Federal Reserve is going to fix the problem that they created. So far, all the rate hikes that we have had, we have seen a continual increase in inflation. The inflation is not going down. That has not been combated. So again, people are expecting and pricing in the Federal Reserve is going to do a 75-point basis hike. If they do 50, the market should go up. And the markets may go up if it stays at 75 because it's already priced in. But if we see the Federal Reserve become hawkish versus dovish. Dovish was the example I just gave, and going hawkish would be to raise it higher. So if they were to go for 1 basis or 100 basis points, which is 1%, then the markets could go down because of that news, because they were pricing in a 75 basis hike, because that's what the Federal Reserve has put out to the market as far as giving them some indication. Now, before I get into the inverted yield curve, I want to talk about the M2 money supply, because I feel personally that the reason why the government, Janet Yellen, White House are changing the definition technically of the word recession is pure manipulation of numbers to try to make the situation look better. Now, when we're indicating our inflation, and after I'm done talking about this, I will come to the live chat. So I do appreciate everybody for tuning in. Make sure you guys smash that like button if you haven't already. If you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell. And again, let me know if you got notified of today's live stream, please. So, manipulation. That's all that's been going on. So what is the M2 money supply, and why am I bringing this up? M2 by Investopedia, which is a really good resource, and you can fact check this with other resources and find the definition matches up. I'm not going to say word for word, but it's going to mean the same thing. You're going to get the same gist of what this means. M2 is a calculation of the money supply that includes all elements of M1 as well as near money. M1 includes cash and checking deposits, while near money, referring to savings deposits, money market securities, and other time deposits in amounts less than 100,000. These assets are less liquid than M1 and is not as suitable as exchange mediums, but they can quickly be converted into cash and checking deposits. The M2 is a measure of the money supply that includes cash, checking deposits, and easily convertible near money. M2 is a broader measure of the money supply than M1, which includes cash and checking deposits. M2 is closely watched as an indicator of money supply and future inflation, and as a target of central bank monetary policy. I'll read that again. M2 is closely watched as an indicator of money supply and future inflation, and as a target of central bank monetary policy. Okay, so you can read this further to get a full understanding of M2, the money supply, the changes in money supply, etc., etc. Now, go to the Fred.St. Louis Fed website. This is all Federal Reserve. Fred is economic data. This comes out of St. Louis Fed. Their M2 money supply information had been discontinued. They stopped reporting this information. That was an indicator of future inflation. And it's like, what the hell? What the fuck? You know, what is going on here? So, and these are general things that most people just are not aware of. And I'm trying my best to bring some attention to the fact of the manipulations and pointing them out in real time as they exist. And changing the definition of a word like recession right before the GDP numbers come out is complete manipulation. So the M2 money supply was discontinued. The Federal Reserve is not continuing to report on it. The last bit of information comes from February 1st of 2021. Now, what's interesting about that, and this article is linked down below, and this comes from Stock Investors. Did the Fed stop reporting the money supply M2? Why inflation is coming back. And this is from April 9th of 2021, last year. And this is a quote from Jay Powell. Inflation is not a problem for this time as near as I can figure. M2 money supply does not really have important implications. It is something we have to unlearn. Reports are circulating that the Federal Reserve has given up on reporting the money supply because it is a misleading guide to economic growth and price inflation. I feel they stopped reporting it so that people wouldn't know that we were in inflation and how bad the inflation actually was. So the question is monetarism dead? I checked into the rumor that M2 is no longer being measured by the central bank and found that they had discontinued the standard M2 data on a weekly basis and have substituted this M2 measure on a monthly basis. Click here for more details. This new measure, M2SL, still shows a dramatic rise in money supply growth in 2020 and 2021. Obviously, because we had printed up a lot of money, all the stimulus, all the bailouts. There's some really cool quotes here. This comes from John Maynard Keynes, Keynesian economics. The idea of economists and political philosophers, both when they are right and when they are wrong, are more powerful than is commonly understood. Sooner or later, it is ideas, not vested interests, which are dangerous for good and or evil. Now, you can read this article in its entirety, but I wanted to just kind of highlight the fact and show that there were people reporting about the Federal Reserve stopping the reporting on the M2 money supply so that people wouldn't have information regarding future implications of inflation. It's absolutely crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Now, I said I was going to bring up the fact of the inverted yield curve. The inverted yield curve is something that's extremely important. So I want people to pay attention to what I'm going to be sharing. And let me go ahead and go back to my screen share. Okay, so the inverted yield curve, again, I'm using Investopedia as this resource. What is an inverted yield curve? An inverted yield curve describes the unusual drop of yields on longer-term debt below yields on short-term debt of the same credit quality. Sometimes referred to as a negative yield curve, the inverted yield curve has proven in the past to be a relatively reliable lead indicator of a recession. A reliable lead indicator of a recession. Now, to give you an example of the best example of the inverted yield curve. So when we're talking about debt, we're talking about stuff like treasury bonds, U.S. treasury bonds, and they have different years on their bonds for the maturity date for you to be able to get your interest for lending money to the nation to help the nation out as an investment. Now, normally, let's say, I don't know, most of the time for the example of the inverted yield curve, they want to use 2 and 10-year bonds. So with a 2-year bond, you should make less interest on your investment than a 10-year bond. That's just common sense. The longer that you hold something, the more interest you should get back for what you did in regards to helping the nation by purchasing treasury bonds. But when that flips and the 2-year equals out, or you make more on a 2-year versus 10-year, then that is an inversion. And every single time the inverted yield curve has happened, I think since 1955, it's indicated 9 times, if I'm not mistaken. And I could be wrong. And if I am, please comment down below and correct me. I'd greatly appreciate it. But it's always indicated a recession. So, an inverted yield curve occurs when the short-term debt instruments have higher yields than the long-term debt and long-term instruments of the same credit risk profile, as I said. It reflects bond investors' expectations for a decline in longer-term interest rates, typically associated with recessions. you can read to understand a little bit more about. And I definitely encourage people to do deeper dives on the things that I'm talking about, because I'm really just touching on the surface, trying to give you a really good explanation. The last article that I want to share is an explainer from Reuters, and not everybody's a big fan of Reuters, but I feel like this is a very well written article by David Randall and Davide Barbuccia. Hopefully, I said that correctly. The U.S. yield curve inverts again. What is it telling us? Okay, a closely watched part of the U.S. Treasury yield curve inverted again on Tuesday as investors continue to price in the chance that the Federal Reserve's aggressive move to bring down inflation will push the economy into a recession. Now, this was July 5th, and it's saying it inverted again. Now, we've already read that a inverted yield curve and an inversion of the yield curve, when the 2-year becomes equal to, or you can actually profit more from a 2-year bond versus a 10-year bond, that indicates a recession. But it says again. And the reason it's saying that is because yields on 2-year treasuries briefly rose above those of 10-year treasuries for the third time this year. So, I mean, it's like reality is slapping us in the face saying, look here, it's going to get shitty economically. Everything is pointing to bad, to a recession. And I apologize if you guys hear some noise outside. There are some landscapers that are doing some lawn mowing and weed whacking. So if you hear it, I apologize. It literally just started right before I was going to go live. I was like, this is so convenient on time. But again, yields on the 2-year treasuries briefly rose above those of 10-year treasuries for the third, 3 times. Not 1, not 2, but 3 times, right? 3 times, and it's a charm. So, I mean, the inverted yield curve is like almost slapping Janet Yellen and the White House in the face, saying, what the hell are you saying by trying to change the definition of the word recession, when I am telling you, not once, not twice, but 3 times, we are going into a recession. We may already be in a recession, and I feel like we are, but I feel like this could get a lot worse before it gets better. And people, economists, macroeconomists, different people in the financial markets have already come out and said that they feel like this time period is going to be equal to or worse than the Great Depression. Now, shout out to Lauren, who sent me this really good article. I just got a text. Want to make sure it wasn't affect anything to do with the stream. Lauren, thank you for sending me this article. It's from the Federal Reserve history. I don't have this linked down below, but I will include it after the live stream. So basically, prior to the 2007 and 2009 recession, the 1981 and 82 recessions was the worst economic downturn in the United States since the Great Depression in the late 20s, 1930s. So with that being said, a lot of people can remember the 2008, but 2007 to 2009 scenario when we had the Great Recession. And that really was the death of our financial system, but it was put on life support and quantitative easing and inflated. And we're dealing with the ramifications of that today. And the FOMC meeting is getting ready to start. Now, with the inflation numbers, the CPI data that just came out, where it said we are up to 9.1%, is the highest since that 1981-82 recession, which was the worst economic downturn in the United States since the Great Depression. But yet, Janet Yellen, who was formerly with the Federal Reserve, who is now currently with the U.S. Treasury, says even though that this is the definition that economists go by, it's not legit. And no, we're not going into a recession. No recession. And then here you got this inverted yield curve is going, hey, listen up, Janet. Like 3 times I've told you, we are going, or we are in a recession. Why are you lying? Why are you lying to the American public? And that's the problem here. It's ridiculous. I really am at a loss for words when it comes to this. Um, I don't understand why more people haven't lost faith in their government. I don't understand why people actually believe the Federal Reserve is going to fix the problem that they created. That they're not trying to become the buyer and lender of last resorts. The Federal Reserve and all central banks. That is their goal. So people need to wake up. And if you think that this video has been informative and helpful and given some good information, please share these kind of videos with other people so that they can learn and be aware. And then they can be a part of this and share. The more people that are able to hear these kind of videos, the more that we can get these messages out, the more that we can individually be that change that we want to see in this world. Excuse me a sec. I want to go ahead real quick and see what everybody's saying in the comments. Again, if you have not smashed that like button, I would greatly appreciate it if you did so. Mr. Bearish Bull, you are kind, my friend. Definitely not a goat. I try to be as humble as possible, just playing the role I'm meant to play. We all have a role to play, no matter how big or small. The more of us to play that role, the more that we can accomplish our goals together. When enough people take a stand, nothing can stand against the people, and we can peacefully change this world. My friend, Mr. David Brumbelow, I'm definitely Brumbelow. Yeah, I said it right. Okay, so hit me up in the next day or two or this weekend, and let's coordinate a time for us to be able to meet up and work on creating a meetup for our local area. So I appreciate you tuning in, man. Thank you so much. Jonah Curry. Hey, everyone. Are the dominoes falling? I believe so, but it's a slow fall. It's a slow effect. So it's like the first domino, it's like almost like wavering, like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. And then eventually. Christy Grubbs, good seeing you in house. Message me sometime. Let me know how everything's going, if you got moved and all that, and if you're interested in getting involved in these local meetups as well. David, thank you for letting me know that you were notified. Dime Bar, I thought 2 quarters was half ounce. Sorry, just got here. Yeah, 2 quarters is a half ounce as well. But as far as economics go, 2 quarters would be 6 months. But I love it. GWD Labs, my indicator is all the homeless on the street. Yeah, it's a good point. It's a very good point. Hankowitz, good seeing you. Let me know in the chat if you've been getting my emails. I sent you, we talked on Patreon. I've been sending you a couple emails. Let me know you got those. Oh, and I did an interview yesterday with Jeremy Kaufman, the CEO and founder of Library, to get updates on their SEC versus Library case. And also, Jeremy's going to be running for a Senate position in New Hampshire as a libertarian. So that's available on my Patreon right now, and that's going to be coming out tomorrow. My interview with Jeremy Kaufman from Library. And most of you should know I'm a huge supporter of both Library and Odyssey. Excuse me. Because that's the only place you can find 100% of my videos. And I actually have extra content over there that's not on YouTube. And I also have extra content over on BitChute as well. I'll share that information at the end of the video. And let's see here. Stymie Snurdly. You can't say the R word out loud. I think it was banned. I'm not sure what R word you're referring to, but let me know. It definitely isn't rice or racist, because all you are my fellow racists, and I appreciate you. I stubbed my crypto. Great username. Great username. Thanks for tuning in. Hankowitz says, in my opinion, the inverted yield curve holds much more weight right now because the U.S. dollar world reserve currency status looks like it's going to change in the relatively near-term future. I agree, Hankowitz. And I also will say, I'm going to be doing a video possibly this week or early next week, talking about what BRICS nation banks are doing. BRICS plus, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, plus other nations that are coming together. They're creating their own global currency, kind of like a IMF SDR, that is the special drawing rights for the IMF central bank, and is made up of a basket of different fiat currencies from different nations, where the United States has the majority and is the global reserve currency for the moment. But the BRICS plus nations banks are creating a global reserve currency for themselves that is a basket of their currencies. So it's going to be interesting times ahead. You're definitely educated, Mr. Hankowitz, and I appreciate you sharing that information. I also want to remind people to make sure you are taking advantage of my partnership with Money Metals, with My Patriot Supply. So you can get a discount on some non-perishable foods over at Prep with Rice. Save $50 on a 1-month supply or $150 on a 3-month supply of emergency food kits. So be sure to take advantage of that. I do appreciate. Let me go through the rest of the comments, and then we will wrap up. I was just reading ahead, Stymie. I'll get to your comment, but I appreciate you adding that. Okay, so where did we leave off? Okay, Hankowitz says many countries are getting on board with BRICS. Okay, so we are on the same page. ATBAFE, ATBAFE. I'm not sure. Never underestimate the power of denial. Yeah, that is cognitive dissonance. And it's a disease and it's real. Hankowitz also adds Ben Bernanke, Janet Yellen, et al. Lie to us all the time. That is their job. It's not the White House's job. I can understand the Federal Reserve and the U.S. Treasury wanting to be manipulative, but I don't feel that should even be said about the White House when the president. And I get it. But in normal reality, it shouldn't be the case. Okay, and yeah, okay, so definitely look forward to hearing from you, my friend. Dime Bar adds, I thought 3 bad financial quarters was a depression. Let's see here. Just to see. So what I'm gathering is just basically a period of sustained long-term downturn in economic activity in one or more economies. It is more severe economic downturn than a recession, which is a slowdown in economic activity over the course of a normal business cycle. So it doesn't really indicate whether or not it's 3 different quarters or not per just kind of looking at a couple offhand really quickly. But you guys can always look up economic depression, and these are things that I always encourage everyone to do. Always do your own research. It's just a smart thing to do, in my opinion. Also, if you're interested in learning about cryptocurrencies and you don't know very much and you would like to schedule a consultation, here's the information on how you can do so. And that is another way that you could support the channel. And supporting the channel is always greatly appreciated. And shout out to the sponsors of Rice TVX. Information scrolling down below. Again, make sure you subscribe. If you haven't already, smash that like button for this video. We're going to get ready to wrap up. I do have that video coming out tomorrow with Jeremy Kaufman from Library, and it's already on my Patreon for early access. Forrest says, I agree with you, Rice. However, we are surrounded by sleeping dumb assets. Yes. I like the way you put that, dumb assets. Good one. Yeah, no, we are definitely surrounded. If you haven't, not saying you, Forrest, alone, but everybody watching this, if you haven't watched the movie Idiocracy, do yourself a favor and watch it. It's almost like predictive programming as far as what could be ahead of us or giving us an indication of what we should change before stuff gets really bad. So check out Idiocracy if you have not already. It's a great movie. Funny, and we definitely need times to laugh. So make sure you're laughing and enjoying life. Hankowitz, yes, you've been getting emails. Awesome. And I appreciate your support, my friend. So Stymie added in, let me get rid of this right here. Okay. Why hasn't, there we go. Stymie added in the R word is recession. As far as I know, and I'll find out here soon, recession isn't a bad word on YouTube yet. I have not been notified. And so far, the video has not been demonetized. So I think we're good to go. But yeah, the government obviously doesn't like that word. Don Bar, appreciate you again. Identity block, good seeing you, my friend. Still trying to getting back in the groove. So we'll be talking soon. Sean C, good to see you in the house. I appreciate you joining. At work right now, but wanted to jump in and salute the American pit bull. I appreciate you, my friend. And definitely make sure you smash those likes. It would be greatly appreciated. I stubbed my crypto says electrolytes are good for plants. So you have watched Idiocracy. Yeah, it is one of your favorite movies. Hazley Jane, thank you so much. I appreciate you loving my channel. I love you watching my channel. I love every single one of you for taking the time out of your day to watch. Time is our most valuable asset, nonetheless. So for all of those that are actually taking time to watch my videos, I greatly appreciate it. I definitely encourage people to check out the video I released. What is today? Today is Wednesday. Yes, today is Wednesday. I released on Monday. It was a conversation I had with Eric Sullivan from Consent of the Governed. It's called Solutions in a World Full of Problems. Check that out. It's a very positive message. I enjoyed it. We kind of got off on some tangents, but sometimes those are the best conversations. So to make sure you're checking out that episode out. Make sure you explore my channel, especially if you're new to my channel. Check out my playlist section. I have my playlist. I try to organize them in a way that makes it easy for you to go through the kind of content that you like. Having one channel with 3 shows gives a lot of variety in the content that I get to bring to everybody. And I know not every video that I put out is going to be watched and enjoyed by every single person subscribed by the channel. But the commonalities of all that under the ideas of sovereignty and freedom, that's what everything I do is all about. It's all about setting an example, being the change that I want to see in this world, trying to encourage others to do the same, and making a positive impact. And the best way that we can do that is by setting that example of change and inspiring others and learning from our mistakes and growing. So I know they kind of got a little bit off track from what I would normally talk about on a Rice report that deals with economics and politics, but I think it's really important that we take all this into consideration. Again, make sure you're taking advantage of my partnerships with My Patriot Supply. You can save $50 on a 1 month supply, 30 days worth of emergency food, or $150 on a 3-month supply. It supports the channel, and you get to start preparing or adding to your prepared stack. Be prepared, not scared. Go to prepwithrice.com. Go to moneymetals.com. If you're a first-time buyer, you can get a free ½ ounce of silver. At the price of silver right now, if you would purchase 6 ounces of silver, you would get a free ½ ounce of silver, and it supports the channel as well. It would be greatly appreciated. I had information scrolling across the bottom of the screen in regards to how you can support the channel in additional ways. Again, make sure you are subscribed here on YouTube. I'm doing a really quick screen share. Make sure that you are following me on Odyssey. Odyssey is the website version of Library. Library, you have to download the application. It's available for desktop and mobile. But Odyssey is the website centralized version because dealing with central servers and things to that effect. It's a competitor for YouTube. You'll find all of my videos, 100% of my videos plus extra content on Odyssey and Library. The most recent videos that I have out over on Odyssey, Library, and BitChute that are not currently on YouTube are part 1 of the Uncensored Rice Bowl with Eric Sullivan and Ethan Lucas, as well as part number 2. And then there is a conversation in between that is me, Ethan Lucas, and Jason the Public Awakening. So be sure to check those 3 videos out. They've not had a lot of views. I have over 29,000 subscribers on YouTube. Of that, I have almost 5,300 followers on Odyssey and Library. And the part 1 Rice Bowl got 201 views. The Rice Bowl with TPA got 81 views. And part 2 with Eric and Ethan has 80 views. So it doesn't seem like a lot of you are going over to Odyssey or BitChute And on BitChute, I have 563 subscribers compared to my 29,000 plus on YouTube. I would really like to get my numbers up over on BitChute, Odyssey, and Library because I'm trying to put more emphasis on those platforms, especially in today's day and age of censorship. You can join my Patreon channel to get early access to some of my content, most of my content, plus some exclusive videos and other things that I'm going to be adding to the element. I have the 3 different levels of membership. So check out my Patreon channel. You can watch that Jeremy Kaufman interview. There's also some free videos that you can find over on Patreon as well. So not everything on Patreon requires you to become a patron. So I would greatly appreciate the support. It would mean a lot as an independent media content creator dealing with censorship and shadow banning and fighting an uphill battle like a salmon swimming upstream. So we're in this together. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up in just a moment. Edward Sosa says, I know. Indifided, I guess, and identified, I'm not sure, as President Nacho, another reference to the great movie Idiocracy. So make sure you're checking it out. David says, USA is a republic, and I consider myself a constitutionalist living in a free republic. Well, we got to change the reality of things and get things back to that zone. And I definitely look forward to talking with you, man. And looking forward to doing meetups and being able to discuss things like this, in addition to other topics like cryptocurrencies and such. So thank you again, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in. I greatly appreciate it. If you so choose, feel free to tune in to the Federal Reserve for their FOMC meeting and find out what the rate hike is going to be. Tomorrow, we have the GDP information throughout the weeks. We have earnings and revenues for Q2 coming out by big tech and multi-million-dollar corporations, multi-billion-dollar, the big boys. They're going to be putting out their earnings and revenue for Q2, the second quarter of 2022. All right, so I do appreciate everybody for taking the time to tune in. Again, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day. New video coming out tomorrow. And I will leave you with this. 1, go outside and do something nice for somebody that you don't know and make them smile. Bring a smile to some stranger's face. And 2, be blessed, which leads into be the change. And you do that with practice change.